Hello, my name is Kieran Hayes and welcome to my OSEE G7 Pro review. The G7 Pro is a 4K Ultra HD field monitor and an update to the very successful G7 monitor. Now, as it's a Pro or updated version, it has a few very nice features added, of course. Now, I've been lucky enough to have a pre-production model for review since last year. So come on, let's get into it and I'll tell you all about it and, more importantly, how this monitor has worked for me since I've been using it. OSEE did send this unit out to me for this review, but I've not been paid to review it, nor have they had any input in this review, and these are my own thoughts on the G7 Pro after using it for a while now. Now, before we look at the G7 Pro itself, let's have a quick run through its feature list first. It has a sharp, vibrant 7-inch IPS 4K Ultra HD display with 3000 nits of brightness. It has an improved contrast ratio of 1300 to 1. It also has a color calibrated screen for precise color reproduction. The 7-inch screen also has touch control for added speed and ease of use. And the G7 Pro has camera control. I absolutely love this. You can actually control your camera from the touchscreen itself. It has dual inputs, both HDMI and SDI, with loop-through outputs, of course. It can also be powered several different ways. There are LUTs preloaded when you get it, and you can also upload your own LUTs via the SD card slot if you want to do that. You have multiple on-screen tools like false color, focus peaking, zebras, waveform, vector scope, histogram, and audio FL meters, and more too as well. There are 8 user interface presets you can program to your liking. And finally, you can also power your camera via the USB-C PD port too. Now, this video is all in chapters, by the way, so feel free to skip through to the relevant part you're looking for. So enough talking already, let's pop the box open and see what you get inside. So here we have the G7 Pro. I've been using this a lot. Apologies if there's fingerprints and things on the unit itself. And other than that, then we've 2 other small little cardboard boxes here. So what's inside the 2 boxes? Well, inside in this fella, we have the actual mounting bracket itself. So this is our monitor bracket here now, and you can see there's a cold shoe here. So that simply just slides onto a cold shoe, and you just tighten up this ring then to lock it in place. And on the other end, then we have a 1/4-inch thread, which can screw onto the bottom of the OSEE monitor or also onto the top. There's 2 different mounting positions. And we have, on this fella here, we have a tension control tool as well for our angle for the monitor itself. And that's basically it. And inside in this one then, we have cables. And the cables then are a USB-C to USB-C. The other cable then is a D-tap to a DC plug. So the OSEE G7 Pro is a professional, ultra bright 7-inch field monitor. And when I say this is ultra bright, I really do mean it's very bright with 3000 nits. So using this monitor in bright daylight conditions is awesome. It also uses an IPS panel, so you have a very wide viewing angle and there is no loss of color fidelity even at wider viewing angles. Now, it comes color calibrated, and with its 10-bit panel, it can reproduce 1073 million colors and can precisely display HDR and camera log signals as a result. Now, the other big addition to the G7 Pro is that it now has a touchscreen. So navigating the menus and settings is a pure breeze. Now is a good time to say this is a pre-release or pre-production model. This is not the latest firmware that you're going to see on this. And if you're one of the earlier purchasers of the G7 Pro, then please do be sure to upgrade the firmware to the latest version. But the touchscreen control really does streamline the use of this monitor though, with a few very handy shortcuts. But more about them in a few minutes though. The G7 Pro is equipped with 3G SDI inputs and outputs and 4K HDMI inputs and outputs. The HDMI input then is compatible with inputs up to 4K 30p. So powering the G7 Pro then is very straightforward, and we have a number of different options here. We can use standard smaller NPF batteries, or we can use larger NPF batteries, a higher capacity, so they'll last a lot longer on a single charge, and pop that into place, and that's going to keep going all day for you. Now, that is ideal if you also want to be able to use the USB-C cable to power your camera via PD. So that'll power your camera, and it will also power the monitor in the one. So if I press the button again, I can release that. Or we can use our V-mount battery, like my newer V-mount battery here, and I can plug it into the D-tap connection on the actual V-mount battery and plug the DC socket in here. Now, the other option we have then is powering via USB-C. I can plug that into the USB-C port here and plug that into a USB-C PD charger or something, and you can power it from there. Or we can also power it via a suitable mains adapter. And there are actually no batteries supplied with the G7 Pro, so do remember you need to buy a battery for it. But I always recommend you buy the higher capacity batteries. They'll make life an awful lot easier for you going forward. Now, I mentioned earlier, one of the things I love about the G7 Pro is the camera control facility. So we're going to have a closer look here now, and I'm going to show you how it controls both my Z8 and my Z6 III. To show you now how the camera control works, I've joined up now to my Z8 here with a USB-C cable feeding down to the camera, and I just press the button here to bring up the camera controls. If I press the top button here, I can adjust my shutter speed. So I can adjust my shutter speed up and down. That's controlling the shutter speed on the camera. I can adjust my aperture, so I can increase or decrease my aperture there just by tapping on the screen. I can start and stop recording. So when I press that now, you can see the nice, lovely red indicator comes up along, telling me now it is recording. And I can press it again then to stop it. It takes a second and that'll stop. And initial handshake comes on. We go back to our live view, and there we go. I can change my ISO here then too as well, of course. So I can make it brighter or darker by adjusting the sensitivity of the ISO. So that is really, really cool. And again, just press the button on the bottom here. So you just press that button to bring up the touchscreen controls and press it again to bring it back down along. Really simple, really easy to use, but yet so incredibly effective. So at the time of doing this G7 Pro review, the Nikon Z8 and the Z6 III are not listed as being compatible with the G7 Pro, but it clearly works perfectly with it. Oh, sorry, yes, and I will leave a link to that list in the description down below if you want to check that out and see what models are compatible now, or confirmed to be compatible now. Now, one of the things I love about the G7 Pro is it's so intuitive and so easy to use. Like, you can see there's an on-screen display on here now. If I just press anywhere on the screen, it cancels it. Tap again, it brings it back up along. Press here, that brings up my camera controls. Press the same place, it cancels them. Press on the other side, will bring up the menu. And down along the bottom here then we have these shortcuts. So you can put in whatever shortcut you want. And these are shortcuts you can put in and take out yourself. And you can have different shortcuts for different presets. So let's say the first one here is false color. So when I click on this, you can see false color. Press it again, cancel it. Here are our zebras. And press it again, cancel it. Then you have a lot more tools inside here. We have aspect, safe, center, crosshatch, anamorphic, false color, zebra, waveform, vector scope, histogram, focus assist, focus peaking, look, multiscope, audio meter, and time code. But let's say it's focus peaking we want here now. I can just click on that, and it's going to add focus peaking here now. And there it is, and you can switch it on and off just by clicking on the indicator itself. Now, if I want to delete that again, for argument's sake, you just hold down your finger on it. It says, do you want to delete peaking? And I can just click on confirm to delete it. So it's as simple as that to actually install these beautiful little shortcuts on the display. Another really handy feature I like and I use quite a bit are the user presets. You can set up to 8 different presets with different tools, so you can quickly swipe across. And I'm going to show you now in 2 seconds how you do it. So this is me now in user preset number 1. So basically I'm on the home screen here now at the moment, and if I just swipe across, I can go my set 2. So this is user preset number 2. And then go across again, and I've user preset number 3. In this case, I have actually zebras and the audio FL meter enabled, and I don't use anything more than that. You can see it goes my set 5 and then back to my set 1. I'm just using the first 3 presets here at the moment, and I'm kind of messing around with them. But what I found is it is very, very handy if you're shooting different scenes. Like, I can just enable anamorphic here now if I want, and have my audio FL meters, so I can have that in preset number 2. And on preset number 1 then, I can just have my grid mode if I want to help me with composition, and I can just quickly swipe across from one to the other. So that's how easy it is to use that. It is super simple. Speaking of volume now, I should also mention, or now is a really good time to mention, that this unit has audio FL meters, which you can enable on the display if you want. That gives you a nice visual confirmation of your audio levels as you're shooting. This is our audio FL meters, so you can actually see the audio level being recorded at the moment here. Now you're saying, yeah, that all looks good enough to me, and you can just cancel it again. So at the press of a button, you get visual confirmation of your audio. Speaking of audio now is probably a very good time to mention the cooling fan in the G7 Pro. This fan is incredibly quiet and operates on a temperature control, so it only comes on when it's needed, and it's truly whisper quiet. In a quiet room, I just can't hear it when it's not within inches of my ear. So if I got completely quiet here now, there's nothing. My microphone is just here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it up to the microphone. So it is incredibly quiet, so that is a really, really nice touch yet again. Looking at build quality now, and the G7 Pro is really well built, and it's one of those products that feels light to hold, but yet solid and well built to the touch. It's kind of a paradox really, as normally light means flimsy. But OSEE have gotten it really right here, and they provided me with a few more details too as well on how they managed to produce this to this level. OSEE said the G7 Pro's front touchscreen is made of high aluminium silicate glass, which has excellent flexibility, scratch resistance, impact resistance, and it makes it more comfortable to the touch. It also has a special coating for anti-glare performance and anti-fingerprint smudges, making the G7 Pro very suitable for field monitoring. The internal die-cast aero aluminium plate provides a super lightweight but yet strong and rigid chassis, while also providing an effective heat dissipation method. And then the outside casing, or the fibre reinforced polymer external chassis or case, provides the best shock resistance in a light, strong body, making it ideal for use in the field. So that's how it's both lightweight and solid at the same time. That makes a bit more sense now. The G7 Pro also has Anamorphic de-squeeze built in, and again the large 7-inch display really helps here as it's large enough to be easily viewable. Inbuilt LUTS and the ability to load your own via the SD card slot is great, so you can actually properly see what you're shooting on the monitor at the time. All of this for less than $500 is a real bargain, and I for one am very impressed with the G7 Pro, and I plan to use this monitor an awful lot over the coming years. Especially as I can now record RAW internally on both the Z8 and Z6 III, so I no longer need to carry around my Atomos Ninja. In fact, I noticed a massive difference there. With the G7 Pro's larger screen and also the higher brightness output, I was no longer squinting to see what I was actually shooting. So all in all, it's a massive thumbs up for me. And don't forget to update the firmware on the G7 Pro when you get it. So thanks again for watching, and see you out there, or see you in the next video, everyone.